I used to believe a marriage could rest on trust alone, that love by itself would keep a man's dignity safe. Turns out I was wrong about both. My name is Damon Cole, and what follows is the story of a betrayal so thorough it reshaped me, and the revenge that came after. 5 days ago, I stood at our kitchen counter holding my daughter Bella's iPad, reading a group chat I was never supposed to see. My wife, Harper, her sister, Tessa, and their mother, Regina, had named it Family Only. The thread ran back months. Years littered with messages cutting me to pieces. "He's such a pushover," Harper typed. "He won't do anything." "Bleed his accounts while you can," Tessa piled on with a laugh reaction. "He'll never stand up for himself," Regina advised, like it was a family policy. They mocked me for turning down a promotion to be home with Bella, joked about how I never questioned house projects that were really spa trips, shopping, or worse affairs. But the knife wasn't the money. It was the contempt, the chill, the slow, sneering cruelty that turned every sacrifice into a private punchline. Right then, I could have called a lawyer, filed, and rinsed them out of my life. But something snapped. I realized I wasn't going to simply leave. I needed them to feel what it costs to shatter a man's faith and assume he'll stay tame. All my life, I'd been the nice one, quiet father, trusting husband. They had never once asked what might happen if the man who never raised his voice ever met real rage. That night, while Harper slept, I stared at the ceiling. My heart hammered, my fists clenched. A dark heat climbed my chest I didn't recognize. I thought about Bella, the last rope tethering me to decency, and understood that whatever else happened, I had to protect her. I had to make sure Harper couldn't use our daughter as a pawn for her schemes, or Regina's manipulations. I had to make all of them regret every smug message in that family-only thread. 2 days later, Bella asked, "Daddy, why does Mommy's friend come over when you're gone?" I froze with my phone in hand. "Which friend, kiddo?" "The tall man," she said. "He has a ring like yours, and Mommy's. He comes when you're at work. He brings coffee. They talk in her room. Sometimes they laugh. I heard Mommy call him Ty, or Tyler. Tyler." The name landed like a drop into acid. Tyler Reed, my best friend since we were boys. He'd introduced me to Harper at Tessa's backyard birthday barbecue. He was always around, always grinning. I remembered the way Harper's posture used to change when he showed up. It had been nothing to me then. The pieces slid into place now. My wife was sleeping with my best friend. A black tide rose in my gut. After Bella ran off to her cartoons, I tucked a motion-activated camera onto a shelf in the living room, its lens blocked by a vase. Harper, so certain of my blindness, didn't notice. The next day at noon, my phone buzzed while I was at work. Tyler's silver pickup rolled to the curb. He let himself in, grinning. The camera caught them kissing in the foyer, curtains wide open. He wore his wedding ring, a little shine of insult from his marriage to Alicia. They vanished into my bedroom for 2 hours. Then he walked back out, fixed his collar, and left. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I stared at the clip while something coiled inside me. My lawyer had called what they'd been doing to my money financial abuse. This was adultery by my wife and my closest friend. That night, I heard Harper on the phone with Regina. "He'll never confront me," she laughed. "We'll finish next week. Once his bonus clears, I'll serve him papers and keep the house." "What's he going to do? Cry?" My chest went tight. Her arrogance was the match. No more silence, no more yeses. I would wait and let them lean further, and then show them who I am. My patience would be the last kindness I extended. When I met with my attorney, Ms. Phillips, I laid my cards, screenshots, camera footage, bank logs on her desk. She scanned them, eyes widening. "You have a rock-solid divorce case," she said. "There could be criminal exposure. I'll need time to pull this together. Damon, this is serious. They're systematically stripping you." "I don't want them to just stop," I said, and my voice sounded deeper, edged. "I want them to pay. She studied me. "Keep it inside the law," she said. "You have every reason to be angry. Just keep your head." I left with a calm that felt like the air before thunder. I wasn't going to step outside the lines. But what I had for Tyler would never fit into a lawyer's brief. Regina's big family dinner was coming. Harper, Tessa, Regina, the whole orbit of whoever counted as theirs. They did it monthly to preen, gossip, and keep up their shine. I decided to go with a plan built down to the screws. I set Bella up for the night at a friend's house. I wanted her far from what might happen. I kept wondering how to expose them all at once until the perfect setup walked into me. Tessa's husband, Grant, caught me at the grocery store. "You coming to dinner, man?" he asked, polite tone with an edge beneath it. I wondered how much he knew. Did he know Tessa was helping siphon my cash into shadows? "Yeah," I said with a small smile. "Wouldn't miss it." He searched my face for an extra beat, then laughed, forced. "See you there, buddy." He had no idea. No one did. Saturday night, I pulled into Regina's manicured driveway hedges, trimmed, white columns up front, the whole performance of wealth, and walked into the rot behind it. Tessa met me at the door, too bright. "Oh, Damon," she said, smiling too much. "So glad you could make it. Harper's helping Mom with the roast. It's going to be wonderful." "Looking forward to it," I said. In the kitchen, Regina played queen shoulders back, chin set, while Harper spun in a sundress, cheeks flushed with the look of effort she hadn't made in years, ever since she learned a smile could sign my name on a check. "Damon," Harper purred, silky sweet. "So kind of you to come after a shift. Why don't you relax in the living room? Tessa will bring you a drink." I forced a calm smile, took iced tea from Tessa, and ignored the small, sharp looks she traded with her mother like cues on a stage. When we took our seats at the long table, Regina lifted her face and took charge. "Let's go around and share highlights," she said. "Harper, darling, why don't you start?" Harper tossed her hair. "I've been putting the final touches on my new business," she said. I wanted to keep it under wraps, but she slid a hand onto my arm. "I can't help it. It's going to make real money. And of course, I'm counting on my wonderful husband to support me." Arrogance curled under every word. They thought I was cornered. Docile spouse, open wallet. They didn't know Ms. Phillips had a chain of exhibits stacked in her office ready to detonate in court. But this dinner wasn't just for evidence. I wanted a second thing, the confrontation. So they could see me and learn the face they'd invented for me was gone. The bell rang. Before Tessa could get up, I stood. "I've got it." A courier I'd hired stood on the stoop, manila envelopes in his hand. I thanked him, shut the door, and brought them back. Each packet had a name written on it. My heart pounded. Blood roared in my ears. On my face, nothing moved. "Before dessert," I said, setting an envelope by each plate. "I've got something for everyone." "What is this?" Regina asked, eyes narrowing. "Go ahead," I said. "Open them." They did. Gasps, curses, and silent open mouths spread like a stain around the table. Harper went white. Tessa's jaw fell so far, it looked like it might not climb back. Regina's lips drew to a thin, bloodless line. Even Grant looked punched, scanning page after page. All of it lay there. Bank statements showing tens of thousands drained from my accounts under the code of renovations. Screenshots from family only, mocking me and plotting how to keep me broke. Still frames of Tyler's truck and his entrance into my house, stamped and dated on days I was at work. Email threads from Tessa and Harper mapping out their divorce plan once they had my annual bonus in hand. Regina's coaching, orchestrating the whole thing for maximum advantage. "What the hell is this?" Tessa hissed, her voice shaking. Harper's eyes brimmed. "Damon, why would you do this? This is private." "Stealing from me was private," I said, my voice carrying in the hush. "Sleeping with my best friend private too? You made it mine when you made me a fool." Regina slapped the table. "You had no right." "I had every right," I said, leaning toward the woman who taught my wife to con me. "You thought you could strip me and sneer in secret. I have a right to gather proof." Across from me, Grant looked ill. "Tessa, are these our accounts?" he asked, showing a page. "Grant, it's not what it—" "You took out a second mortgage," he said, stunned. Tessa stared at me, hatred twisting her features. "You bastard. You ruined everything." "No," I said. "Quiet. You ruined everything. I made sure it stuck." The bell rang again. A chill slid down my back. I already knew who it might be. Harper jumped to her feet, smoothing her dress. I'll get it," she said. I followed, the family a step behind. She flung the door open. Tyler Reed stood under the porch light in a black leather jacket, hair messy, face torn between guilt and defiance. "Harper," he said. "I wanted to—" He saw me. "Damon," he swallowed. "Look, man, I know how this looks." Every memory layered in his voice. Camping, high school pranks. My wedding toast rotted and fell away. "Why are you here, Ty?" I asked, too calm. He glanced at Harper. "I came to push me," I snapped. "To stroll into my house while I'm at work again?" Panic flashed across his face. "It's complicated," Harper said. "You and I were basically—" "Don't lie," I snarled. "I've got you in my bedroom while I'm punching a clock. Our daughter asked me why Mommy's friend visits." Tyler went pale. "Damon, please. You have to—" "Stop!" I barked, stepping forward. The man I used to be would have tried to reason, would have walked away. That man died when I watched my best friend lean over my wife in my bed. My fists tightened. Tyler realized too late. He lifted his hands to placate me. I drove my shoulder into his ribs, slammed him into the doorframe. The crack rippled through the house. Tessa screamed. Regina shouted, "Stop this!" I wasn't listening. I grabbed his jacket and threw a wild hook that smashed into his jaw. Pain ran up my knuckles and felt like relief. He staggered, and I followed with a second shot across his face. He lurched sideways, off the threshold, onto the porch boards. "Damon, this is insane," he coughed. "It's justice," I hissed, my pulse roaring. "All those times you shook my hand and then walked into my house when my back was turned. Did you think I'd lie down forever?" He grabbed for my wrist. I twisted, kicked his knee out. He dropped, cursing. I stood over him, chest heaving. "You're going to kill him!" Harper shrieked. "Funny," I said, staring at her. "You never worried about me, just him." Tyler spit blood onto the porch. It wasn't enough to cool me. I bent, grabbed his hair. "You're done," I said, voice shaking. "Hear me! Done!" Strong arms clamped my chest, Grant and somebody else yanking me back. "That's enough," Grant panted. "He's not worth it." Tyler crawled to the rail and clung there, blood at his lip, eyes wide with a fear none of them had ever thought I could inspire. Grant and the others dragged me inside while I caught breath in ragged pulls. Harper scurried to Tyler and pressed tissues to his mouth, while Regina sputtered through fury. "I'm calling the police," she said, lifting her phone. "Call," I spat. "Let's see how they like the files on your fraud, theft, and conspiracy. I'll go in for assault, sure, and you'll be eaten alive by the charges that follow. I promise I walk out long before you wriggle free." Silence froze the hall. Tessa crumpled into a chair and sobbed into her hands. Regina's phone dropped to her side. Only Harper's crying and Tyler's wet, pained breaths moved the air. Grant squeezed his eyes and rubbed his face. "This is insane," he said. "Tessa, did you really do this?" She nodded, then snapped. "You didn't have to do it publicly. Why couldn't you just leave quietly?" "Why should I?" I shot back, arms out. "After what you all did, stealing wasn't enough. You had to sneer at me behind my back. Pushover, right? Did it occur to you what happens when that man finally pushes?" Even Regina's tongue stalled. Harper eased Tyler onto the sofa. He winced and stared at the floor. She turned, tears streaking. "Damon, I'm sorry," she whispered. It just happened. Ty was there, and you're always distant." I felt alone. "Don't you dare dump that on me," I said, low and deadly. "You needed money, I gave it. Time, I gave that. I gave you everything. And you mocked me for it. You plotted." Anger flashed in her eyes. "Fine," she snapped. "Yes, we mocked you. You were too stupid to notice. You weren't supposed to turn into this monster." I laughed, hollow. "You built that monster, Harper. I didn't want any of this. You shoved me to the wolves until I became one." "You'll never get custody of Bella," she said, rallying. "A violent father? No judge will hand you our daughter." I let that sit. Then I held up my phone thread after thread between her and Regina, planning to provoke a blow-up so they could claim abuse in court. I had timestamps months' worth, plus her fraud, plus her and Tyler on camera. "You're going to lose," I said. "And if you try to use Bella as a chip, I'll bury you in motions. Don't you dare." Something cracked in her face. Fear deeper than the moment fear of a custody fight she couldn't win. Nobody ate the roast. We sat and stood in that big, expensive room while accusations and grief circled. Tyler kept his eyes on the floor and flinched when he swallowed. Tessa cried into a tissue. Regina's mask, the one she wore to fundraisers, finally slipped. "Everyone calm down," Regina said at last, voice brittle. "Damon, perhaps we can discuss terms. We're family." "Not anymore," I said, steady. "You made sure of that. I won't do this behind closed doors." Grant stared at Tessa. "You wrecked our money, our life. For this?" Tessa glanced between Regina and Harper, like a child who suddenly realized none of the adults had a map. "Mom said it was safe," she said. "Harper said, you'd never know." And she fell back to tears. Regina pinched the bridge of her nose. "There must be a way. We'll repay you. We apologize." "With what?" "The money's gone, and your sorry is just another tool." She set her jaw. "We need to think." "Here's what will happen," I cut in. "I've already filed. You'll be served. Now I secure Bella's best interest. Fraud is a separate track. My attorney will move criminal. Your family-only chat will sing in the prosecutor's hands, especially the parts about forging my signature and draining funds." Regina flushed. "You'd send your child's mother to prison? You are a monster." "She threw herself there," I said. "Cool. Maybe a plea is possible. Talk to your lawyers." Tessa pressed a hand to her stomach. "What about me?" I glanced at Grant. "If you want, come with me. Meet Ms. Phillips. See the evidence." He nodded, shattered. Tessa looked small in her chair. For a second, I pitied him. Another man who'd married into a den and called it a family. Tyler stood, woozy, hand on the sofa back. "Damon," he said. There was nothing left to say. I turned my back on him. The adrenaline from the porch still buzzed my skin. It had delivered a grim, honest satisfaction. "You," I told Regina, "don't call me. And don't you dare try to work Bella from the edges. You so much as say her name wrong, and I'll have a cruiser at your door. Understand?" Fear flickered in her eyes. "Yes." I faced Harper. "Pack your things," I said. "Stay with your mother." "Or him." I nodded at Tyler. "But you don't step foot in my house except for scheduled visitation or with an officer to pick up your stuff. Your comfortable life is over." Her mouth opened, then closed. She knew she'd been beaten. Within days, Ms. Phillips filed an avalanche restraining orders, custody motions, fraud and theft complaints. Grant worked with us, and we found more funds hidden in corners, paperwork Regina had buried. The net drew tight quickly. Tyler called once. I didn't answer. He left a message. "I know I messed up. We can't let it end like this. We've been friends since..." I deleted it. Some lines. Once cut, stay cut. Word traveled fast. Regina found herself under investigation for orchestrating family finance scams, binding other people's signatures to lines of credit. Tessa melted down when Grant froze their accounts, and hired his own attorney. The show life collapsed. As for Tyler, Alicia had suspected something. She hadn't guessed it would be me who brought it into light. She filed, took their 2 kids, and started making calls to everyone we knew. Within a month, the quiet suburban life I'd built exploded into depositions, transfers, and hush offers. Harper, Tessa, and Regina floated settlements. Ms. Phillips said no. "Maximum damages," she said. "You'll come out ahead of what you ever expected." The money wasn't the point. Bella was. I pushed for primary custody. Harper's record of manipulation and fraud did the rest. The judge read the exhibits and granted me sole custody pending review. Harper got supervised visitation. Supervised because the court believed she might twist Bella emotionally or even disappear with her. It was a hard measure. Her betrayal wasn't just dollars. She wrote plans to weaponize our child. Weeks dragged into months. I bought a smaller place that felt honest instead of glossy. Bella picked her wall color. I put her in after-school art. We made a rhythm that didn't need anyone else's approval. Harper tried to rebrand in court as a victim, pointing at my outburst on the porch as proof I was unfit. Ms. Phillips crushed it with months of Harper's texts about provoking me to build a case. A judge has limited patience for scripts like that. Charges against Regina and Tessa crept forward. I was ready to testify if needed. One night after a hearing, Harper stopped me in the hall. Mascara smeared, hair undone, sleep a stranger to her face. "Damon," she said, "I'm sorry. I know it's late for that, but I don't want to lose Bella. I never meant—" "Stop," I said, flat. "I'm not that man anymore," she cried. The old me would have offered a shoulder and apologies. I watched her and thought about how she'd taught Bella to lie, how she'd planned to drain us dry, how she'd laughed at me in private. "You set this rolling," I said. "Live with it." I walked away. A week later, outside a diner, Tyler stepped into my path. Thinner, cheeks hollow, a faint line on his face where my knuckles had landed. "Damon," he said, "I'm sorry. I lost Alicia, the kids, my job. I was drunk, stupid. Harper needed—" I shut my car door and stepped close enough to watch him flinch. "You took advantage," I said. "You did it for months, not a single stupid night." He swallowed shame. "I can't undo it," he whispered. "We were friends forever. If there's anything—" I barked a laugh. "I gave you trust. You spit in it. You want pity now that the bill arrived? I've got none." He nodded, eyes wet. "Fair. I won't bother you again." He reached out, desperate. "If you see Alicia, tell her I'm sorry." I shook off his hand. "That's your work. You want redemption, earn it. But not from me." He left, shoulders caved, an echo of a friend I'd known. Under the hate, something small ached for what we'd been. Kids. Forever. Until forever snapped. I let him go without another word. The divorce finalized a few months later. I got the majority share of what we'd built, including a lump from the sale of the old house. Some of it dragged back the hard way. Harper faced charges, with Tessa and Regina beside her at the table. Their pleas were being hammered out. Bella thrived, new school, new scribbles, a father present in every sense.